Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we are delighted that you've welcomed us into your home. We would love to hear from you, so send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com. And remember, you can always listen to our show. Just go out to EWTN's Podcast Central at ewtn.com/radio/podcast or wherever you listen to your podcast. Now, today, we are welcoming to our show John Acquaviva. John is a professor of exercise science at Wingate University in Wingate, North Carolina. He is a lover of sports, family life, and the Catholic faith. And he lives in Matthews, North Carolina with his wife, Alicia, and their 5 children. And today, he's here to speak with us about the connection between body image and sports through the lens of the Catholic Church, which he unpacks in his book, Improving Sportsmanship Through Catholic Teaching and Common Sense. Go out to his website, CatholicBodyImage.com. And you and I have certainly been sport spectators, as we have 17
and
grandchildren.
I'm going to say something.
Yes.
You were selected as most athletic in our high school.
Well, I did. That was a fun thing. We've been athletic all our lives, thank God. We can move. Being vertical is a good thing at this old grand age. Okay. But the beautiful thing is you go to events, whether you're home in your recliner and you're watching a sporting event, you have behavior. It's either good or bad. You could be yelling at the refs, you could be yelling at the coaches, you could be yelling at the players. And what does that matter? Well, it matters because we as Catholic holy people, I love sports, I love participating in sports, I love going to games, but I also have to bring Jesus with me. And that means what I say and what I do needs to matter. And I hope and pray that you're going to learn from this show, and John's going to teach us deep about that.
John's just fantastic. He's been here before. He's wonderful. Improving your sportsmanship through Catholic teaching and common sense, a practical guide for athletes, parents, fans, coaches, who's not connected in some way with sport. And it's such a beautiful thing. But a spirituality, do I have to be thinking about that? We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. An important word for all of us. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, our guest today is John Acquaviva. He is the author of Improving Sportsmanship Through Catholic Teaching and Common Sense. Go out to his website, CatholicBodyImage.com. Well, John, we have had you on our show before, and you were so wonderful, we wanted you back. And so, but really, tell our family an update about you and how God is using you and what you do, and then we're going to talk about this book.
Absolutely. I teach physical education and exercise science at Wingate University, and that is one of my passions in life. That's one of my loves, and my other passion outside of my family is sport. I love being active. I participated in sport. It was a great something that I'm very thankful that was part of my life. And I thought, what's the way I can combine these two loves? And I do it through my radio show, Faith in Sport, but then I wanted to put something to paper so I could kind of, draw out a lot of these ideas and put it in print and give it to the reader in a different medium. And that's what this book is all about, because I think there's nothing more practical that I could have written about outside of this.
Okay, so tell our family, why does sport matter? Why does it matter?
Because it's such a big part of our culture. Like, even the Catholic Church has fully acknowledged how important it is to our culture. The popes have been speaking about this for more than 100 years, And by them speaking on it demonstrates how big it is. People are almost 100% involved in one way or the other in sport. They are parents of an athlete, they're grandparents of an athlete, they're the athletes themselves, they coach, they're administrator of sport, or they're a fan of sport. And when you consider all of that, it literally covers almost 100% of our culture. So everybody is drawn to it, everybody is a part of it in some way.
Why? Why is it so big, so huge? Is there something transcendent, that everybody's involved with this? I mean, there are abuses and people get sick of the commercials and all this stuff, but it keeps on happening when, the people are just so interested in this, or what's coming across that it's connecting in this way. Is it transcendent in some way? Like some of this stuff leads us to the beyond, or the beyond's coming into this in terms of the training, the excellence, whatever.
Absolutely, yes. In my book that you mentioned, and one of the things that we talked about last year was my book on body image. Yeah. And the theme of that book is we were embodied for a reason. God made us physical for a reason. He could have made us spiritual. He could have done whatever he wanted, but we were embodied. And he made it so our bodies can engage in things. And one of the things that we can engage in is physical activity, is sport. And this allows us to glorify God. And that's why it's one of the great things about our current culture in sport is more than ever, coaches and athletes, when a microphone's put in front of them, they glorify God through that medium. Like they are participating in that sport, and it allows us to compete. Competition is not only good, some people would even call it divine. I agree with that. But of course, there are rules within the competition that we are asked to follow. We are certainly asked to bring our faith onto the field, and that's where a lot of the connection stops. We go to church on Sunday, we even get on our knees every morning, but then when we go onto the field as an athlete, when we go into the stands as a parent, we tend to leave our faith at home, and we think that there's a certain type of freedom, as we were talking off camera, that allows for them to be unsportsmanlike. Like all bets are off now. We want to just win this game. And my take on this is that we can be virtuous and be highly competitive at the same time. They are not mutually exclusive. We can be both at the same time. And I fully believe that's what God asks us to do, is to be both at the very same time.
So what are the virtues that we can acquire and develop and be formed in, not in our life and being an athlete, but then how that carries over to our life skills later on? Yes. When we're not in a uniform or on the field.
That's right. That's right. There's a few of them, and some of them are the gifts of the Holy Spirit. One of them, for instance, is wisdom, right? Having the knowledge of God, being a participant in the godly life. And then when we do that, we fully understand, or more fully understand, what God is asking of us. And for instance, we are asked to respect all people of every religion, of every faith, of every nationality, of every age, whatever the case is, we're asked to respect them. And that needs to move on to the field. When the referee makes a bad call, we are still called to treat them with dignity and respect. We can completely disagree with them. They not only are going to make mistakes, it is a given, right? This is a guarantee that they're going to make mistakes, but they still need our respect. Coaches need to respect the players, despite how young they are, despite how much lack of talent there is. That doesn't separate them from carrying on these virtues. And then when we respect the people in authority, when we respect when mistakes are made, that helps us grow, and it helps us understand the internal life, which is we are sinful people, other people are going to be sinful, other people are going to make mistakes, and we can carry that on. And we learn some of those particular instances early in life and through sport. It's not perfect. We through even replay, right? We expect they still get the instant replay wrong, right? We thought that once instant replay would come in, that would erase all mistakes. It demonstrates that they even make mistakes then, and we need to respect the decision that is made, because there's all kinds of decisions that are going to be made that we still need to respect. Now, we can challenge them as we can challenge the sport, right? Like they throw the flag in football and they say, I want you to take another look at that. But even when that call goes against us, we are still asked to respect that decision and let's move on. Is it difficult? Absolutely. But we still need to move on.
Yeah.
So what are we not allowed to do with the ref?
Yes. Well, yeah, that's part of it is, we should never speak to the ref. We should, if anything, at the end of the game, at the end of the match, whatever the case is, thank them for actually doing that. It's a borderline volunteer position. Almost all of them are paid to some degree, some of them are not, but even when they are paid, they're paid so little money and their training is minimal. And we sometimes respect them, or expect them, I should say, to be at the best, at their best, or have a high level of refereeing skill or umpiring skill, when the fact is we're watching our 10-year-old daughter play softball, and you want the best softball umpire there ever was out for your game.
Right.
We have to know that their experience is minimal, their training is minimal, and we need to just, again, respect what their decisions are. And my suggestion is never say anything to them until the game is over and you thank them for volunteering for that position.
Does your book speak to them at all? Help them at all? They sound like they need help.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In terms of their spirituality too. You know what I mean? It could
The
be
umpire,
like,
the referee?
Yeah.
Yeah, they need help. Sometimes they do because they engage with the parents that berate them. They engage with the coaches that insult them, and sometimes they lose self-control as well. And they
there's never a win for them, except that they maintain their dignity and respect, because one side or the other is going to say, you missed this, you missed that. I mean, I guess they got to just accept that and say, I'm just a human being. I'm going to do the best that I can do in this situation. You mentioned also an important virtue, forgiveness.
Yeah.
So you say respect and forgiveness. I got the respect one. I was wondering how forgiveness kind of fits into all this.
This is actually my favorite of all virtues. I probably could have devoted an entire chapter to forgiveness. It's just maybe a page or two in there. And what I mean by that is actually it kind of shows its way in a lot of different aspects of sport. One of them is what we referred to earlier. We have to forgive the referee and the umpire when they make a mistake. It's not something that we probably need to go to confession for unless we insulted somebody, unless we showed some lack of respect. But there is some forgiveness that we should have in our heart. They are going to make mistakes. We have to forgive them of that. We have to forgive coaches. Coaches make bad decisions all the time. Even if it's at the NFL or major league level, the person at the top makes a decision to play this person, not to play that person, to go with this pitch, to go with that play. And sometimes not only does it ruin that moment, sometimes it leads to a loss of our favorite team. We have to forgive them. We have to forgive the players. When our team, a player messes up at shortstop, a critical error in the 9th inning to lose the game, whether it's in Little League or the Major League World Series, there has to be an aspect of forgiveness. Otherwise, we walk around with like a rotted heart. We're just mad at everybody, and we're mad as fans. And of course, this leaks into our everyday behavior, doesn't it? If our team loses, I'm a loser and I'm in a bad mood. If my team wins, then everything is good. And we need to have perspective on both of them. So we need forgiveness in a lot of ways.
Well, it is important. We as grandparents now, but even when we were parents and when we were athletes, you have to understand why you're in it. Why are we doing what we're doing? It's because we've been given a gift and a talent, and God says, I want you to excel in this. But the goal is the formation of you as a human being.
That's right.
So you had a chapter in there you write for coaches and for players and then for parents.
That's right.
Tell us about the role and the importance of parents' behavior and the lack thereof and who they are.
There's several chapters in here. Virtue for the parent, virtue for the umpire, virtue for the athlete, and so forth.
Fan.
The fan. The one on parent is actually purposely twice as long as any other chapter, because parenting and parents usually dictate the flow of a game, the actions or non-actions of the athletes themselves, who are their sons or daughters. And when the parents have an active role in the virtuous life, they carry that on to they pass that on to their children who are athletes. They actually talk to them about virtue. They talk to them about some of these characteristics that we're talking about. And if they not only don't teach it, but they practice the opposite of yelling at the umpire, yelling at the other parents when it's a contested game or contested play, whatever the case is, then it makes the whole experience not enjoyable for everybody. In fact, sometimes it makes it downright an awful experience. And so the parents have this duty and responsibility to show restraint, to teach these virtues of self-control and discipline and forgiveness and respect to their children, because one of the biggest studies ever done on this field was published a couple years ago, and it showed that when the parents, for instance, yelled at the referee or the umpire, it gave permission to their children to do the same. In other words, they were more likely to show disrespect to the coach or the umpire if their parents did the same thing. In other words, they mimic what their parents do. Who would be surprised by that? But this study actually showed that this is actually what happens. And again, we have to see it from two different angles. One, the parent has an opportunity to do something negative and make the situation negative, or they have the opportunity to show restraint, to show respect to their children and to everybody else, and it can make it a positive experience. And I think parents, for the most part, dictate that in every sporting event, especially at Little League events.
Well, and this year for us, we have two grandsons that are playing football on Friday nights. One's having a winning season, one's having a losing season.
One's undefeated, the other one hasn't won a game.
Hasn't won a game.
Again, the team.
The team. And so...
Have they played each other, by the way?
No.
They're not that close.
But the formation of those two men, young men, and then our participation and our encouragement, because it's not about winning, it's about becoming the man God has called you to be, in the discipline, in the obedience, in getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and in Alabama doing football when it's god-awful heat. And all of that training for the interior life. Yes, you want to win. I like to win. I don't like to lose. But we're going to be there and support and love, because it's the end of that person, of the formation of them. Right? You want to go out there and do your best. You're making a reel. I mean, as we are now in this name, image, and likeness phase as we are. But to be the best version of you, to be the best sport that you could be out there. To be the best play and be a witness of light and salt in the midst of all that's going on. Yeah,
the best conversation I ever had, and one of the things that motivated me to write this book, was my college baseball coach. When he had this conversation with me, one-on-one. He was like an uncle-type figure to me, really respected and liked him. And he had this conversation with me. It was directed at me, for me, in which he talked about winning doesn't make you a winner, and losing doesn't make you a loser. And I'll never forget that, and that was truly one of the motivations for me to write this book. There was a lot of them. They came from different kind of aspects of my life, but that was one of the most poignant, most important conversations anybody's ever had with me. And that is something that a parent can talk to their children about, grandparents can talk to their grandchildren about, and coaches can talk to their players about, because that's what we tend to do. We tend to kind of associate ourselves with winning or a winner when we win, and losing, we associate ourselves with being a loser. And there couldn't be anything further from the truth. We have no less dignity from God, or love and respect from God, for lack of a better word, respect, whether we win or lose.
Well, you expound upon that at length in the book itself. We're going to take a break at this point. We're going to hold you over for the final segment. You can go to CatholicBodyImage.com, CatholicBodyImage.com. That's John's website. Great resources there. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away. Welcome back. We're wrapping up our conversation with John Acquaviva, improving your sportsmanship through Catholic teaching and common sense. Now, you mentioned the church speaking to the area of sport and popes and others. It didn't even come to mind for me that the popes would take time to speak to this area, but tell us about it.
Yeah, they have. They've been doing so for more than 100 years. And it makes sense because it's such a big part of the culture throughout the world. But I think in particular, like soccer, for instance, is so big in Italy that the Pope, even if he's not a fan of sport, I don't think it would be possible for them to live in Italy and not feel that energy from the world of soccer. And so I think they felt compelled to speak on it and talk about what does it mean to be a Christian? What does it mean to be a Catholic Christian in the world of sport? And for instance, Pius XII said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but said something along the lines of sport needs to be put in perspective, and in particular, our faith and our family life need to come first. So that was a really good, this is something he said over 80 years ago, but it was relevant at the time. It's still relevant today. And virtually everything they've ever said is still relevant to the sport culture as we know it. John Paul II, he kind of made a light comment about it in which he said, of all the unimportant things in life, soccer is the most important. Is that brilliant or what?
Yeah, that's great.
In other words, he wants to fully acknowledge that it's a part of our culture, it's a part of the human experience. But he also said, let us give thanks for the gift of sport because it's an extension of who we are as human beings. God has given us this human body that can compete and can compete at these high levels. And it brings joy to the athlete. It brings joy to the coaches coaching those athletes. And of course, it brings a great deal of joy to the viewer and to the fan to watch these people play at a really high level. And that's why the Eucharist is so important, right? It means giving thanks. And we should be giving thanks for so many things when we get on our knees after receiving the Eucharist. And it's okay for one of those things to be something that we love, the gift of sport. And I'll end with another quote from a pope recently. Francis said, better a clean defeat than a dirty victory. So he was, of course, saying we need to play within the rules, everybody. There are still rules. We need to respect those rules. And let's live our Catholic faith through the gift of sport.
John,
Excellent.
thank you so much. Thank God we have you for tomorrow. So much more in your book, Improving Your Sportsmanship Through Catholic Teaching and Common Sense, a practical guide for athletes, parents, fans, coaches. If you're involved in sport in any way, you need this. You need to think before you go to these games and apply our Catholic spirituality. We don't check out the Lord and our spirituality. When we go, we participate, we're coaching, whatever it might be. We need to think and to pray. Be sure to join us tomorrow. We'll continue our conversation with John Acquaviva, Improving Sportsmanship, Sportsmanship Through Catholic Teaching and Common Sense. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.